Hey, welcome back to Haven't Read It. Our first story today is from Malicious Compliance. The title is Need Me to Start the Trip Early? No problem. Back in college, I worked for a rideshare company with a German name. Here's what happens on a driver's end when you request a ride. I get a notification showing the location of the request and nothing else. If I accept the ride, it tells me your name and starts navigation to your location. When you get in the car, I press a button and the ride starts, which is charged on a mixture of distance traveled and time elapsed. Now is the first time I see where I'm actually taking you. It's after midnight in a college town, and surge prices are in effect, so I'm already expecting a good amount of money. I accept a ride to pick up Jessica and end up at a house party. A woman is standing there expectantly, so I say, "Jessica?" The description of my car in the app, the picture me, and the fact that I pulled up and knew her name was enough for Jessica. She also needs to know her destination, glaring at me like I've come to kidnap her. I've never been asked this before, but no problem. I just start the trip and tell her, 123 Main Street. This also starts the trip timer. This is good enough for Jessica, but she tells me that first she needs to say goodbye to everyone. No problem, I say, patiently waiting for about 10 minutes as she finds everyone in the front yard and house and says goodbye. All the while, the surge price trip gets more and more lucrative for me. All in all, I don't recall it being that much more money on the trip, but college-aged me was pleased with the situation. Top comment says, "You were uber patient." Someone responds, "He just wanted to give her a lift." Second top comment says, 10 cents or $1,000. You absolutely should be paid if you have to sit and wait. That's time you aren't able to do anything else. Someone responds to this comment says, "Agreed. As a former Uber driver, I can tell you that the drivers do get paid to wait. But it doesn't start counting for pay until you've waited 5 minutes. And then you get paid very low and would make a lot more actually driving." Next top comment says, "I hope you at least told her the timer was ticking." OP says, "Oops, left that out." Yeah, she stuck her head in my car window and watched me start the ride and the time start. Next story, Manglement rides again. I submitted this as a reply to a previous post, but it seems like it should stand on its own. Sometimes it's not just software developers that are short-sighted. Manglement falls in that category too. My company changed our email processing system to a much more sophisticated program than what we were using. Before rolling it out, we all had to be trained on a new program, and I was scheduled for one of the last classes, which of course was delayed. Enter Manglement. They decided to run a test on a new program, so they asked my team to switch over to the new system for 2 hours so that they could gauge how it would work. The first 2 times they tried this, I raised my hand and asked if I could continue to work on the old system as my training was not scheduled until X date next week. My request was granted. The third time they tried a test, my training class had been delayed again by the same Manglement member. Let's call him Paul. This time my request to stay on the old system was denied. I told Paul I had no idea how to use the new system since I had not been in a training class. But he insisted I use it anyway. It might as well have been the controls of a spaceship. Nothing was labeled, and I had no idea what all those icons meant. I could see the incoming email, and I know how to type, so I replied to the email, and then just sat there doing nothing. After about 20 minutes of sitting unproductive, Paul walks up to me and asks why I was not answering emails. I said, "I did. It is right here." He says, "Why didn't you send it and move on to the next email?" I replied, "I don't know how. As I keep telling you, I have not gone through the training." Oh well, I needed a break from the work anyway. Sometimes the only way to get your point across is to beat them at their own game. Edit, for context, this happened about 20 to 25 years ago, and we went from the Adante program to Kana. I don't think Adante exists any longer, but it was as simple as riding a bike versus running a space shuttle with Kana. Once I was trained on Kana and used it for a while, I was fine. Top comment says, "Who in their right minds develops an email UI where you don't immediately see the send button?" Next top comment says, "I appreciate your consistency, but for future malicious compliance, the portmanteau is Manglement for Mangle plus management." Oh, fuck you. Next top comment says, "I have introduced new IT technology in a senior living community. That includes people who only do things by rote and have minimal conceptual understanding of the technology. Some of them have minimal short-term memory, so training is exhausting. Some just don't like change and resist passive-aggressively, and some don't like the vendor that created the technology. Worse, when things go, the lack of conceptual understanding means they cannot describe the problem meaningfully, much less solve it. So technical support is a PITA. I am a senior too, but retired from a highly technical IT career. I socialize with these people and enjoy their company, but new IT technology is still a painful issue. Third story of the day is from r/anti-work. It finally happened. I put in my 2 weeks and they want me to train my replacement. Of course they do. It's a very long story, but I'll try to make it short. A few months ago, my team and I were notified of a contract termination that would basically leave us with 0 hours. We were given 2 options, unemployment or transferring somewhere. The transfer they offered me didn't align with my availability or professional needs. In my attempt to keep my job, I offered to adjust my availability for a different site that I managed and was basically met with, okay, if you want to work there, you'll have to be demoted and we'll pay you half of what you make now. And there isn't enough in the budget to keep you at your role due to the contract termination. This pissed me off for obvious reasons because who would accept a pay decrease and a demotion that doesn't reflect their performance or contributions? Let me also add that under my manager, there are 2 of us. The other person has tenure over me, and that's the only reason it's my job and not theirs is being removed. So I looked for another job, and I landed at a place that was willing to pay me even more than I made with this company. Now after submitting my 2 weeks, my manager wants me to go over information for the other sites I manage with the other person who has held the same role to help me make the transfer of my sites to them smoother, and also because my manager has no clue what's going on with those sites. I am not consenting to this because not only is this person's tenure longer than mine, and they should already know how to run the additional sites, but it's really not my problem, and certainly there is resentment after being undervalued in my attempt to be flexible with them. I've heard people on here saying to request additional pay, and I really like that approach. I'm just not sure what to say to my manager. At first I was scared to burn the bridge, but they already burned it by insulting my contributions to this company and undervaluing me. Not to mention if they were going to let us be unemployed after their one attempt to find a transfer didn't go their way. Any advice would be great, and I would love to hear anecdotal experiences too. Edit to add. I am super open to deleting all the stuff I made to make my job easier. I'm just not sure how to do it. We use things that rhyme with Hugel Hawks, Hugel Beats, and Hugel Plides. Edit number 2. I decided to take a user's advice. I still want them to pay out, so I'll do the bare minimum and train this person. I've had duplicate files, which made me the owner, and I'll be sharing and reviewing them, but nothing more. This is not because I care about a professional reference. This is because I want the money more than the sweet revenge. I'm not exactly proud of that, but with the current economic state of things, I would rather have an extra few hundred in my savings than not. So I have to put up with this shit for a little more time. I'm okay with that sacrifice. I'm leaving this post up for others, and I appreciate everyone who's chimed in so far. Yeah, we all need money. Top comment says, let's review. You have no intention to return to the company you're departing. You are under no obligation to do anything that they want you to do, i.e. train your replacement. You have a new role with a different company that has already hired you. You were offering the departing company a 2-week notice out of being professionally courteous. There is a chance that the departing company will try to screw you over on any benefits / paid time off hours that you're supposed to get for giving notice. My recommendation? Leave now, right now. You'll be out of any benefits you're entitled to from departing your company, but you have a new role with a new company with a salary that's higher than your old role. Let your old company figure it out. It's no longer your problem. Leave now. OP says, understood. The leave now sentiment is strong. I made an edit that you might not have seen before your comment, but if I'm going to leave, I want to take all of the work I did too. Just leaving isn't good enough, in my opinion, because they still get what they want. Next story is, turn in my notice after my boss gave me a $0 bonus. I've been having issues with my boss since I asked for a raise last year. Since then, I have felt set up for failure on multiple projects I've worked on. Projects that I was assigned to solo have had the goalposts changed and due dates changed somewhat arbitrarily. Every time I would present the results, I would be told to add or change something and told that it was close but not finished. Projects I was assigned to with others, their effort on the project would be praised and I would be an afterthought. Even on other projects where I took on the majority of responsibilities, other employees were singled out for praise. Well, I've been applying for other jobs the past several months and got an offer last month. They wanted me to start earlier, but I asked if they could push my start date until after my current employer's bonuses were paid out. I worked there all of last year. I should at least get the bonus, right? Well, today I had the meeting with my manager to discuss salary and a bonus payout. And, as the title says, I received a $0 bonus. I was also informed that my current performance review needs improvement. I should mention here that my boss is notoriously awful at getting us our performance reviews. My mid-year review which should have been completed in July, wasn't completed until November. Upon learning that my bonus was $0, I was struck silent. My boss asked me if I had any questions, and I just said, "I'm shocked I'm not receiving a bonus. I'm honestly insulted. This is a slap in the face, and it's so insulting." I then shared a few additional thoughts. I've been disrespected so much this past year. I've been set up for failure. The problems you've had with me have been manufactured or exaggerated. Hang on a moment, I need to send you an email. I then opened up the work document, the notice letter that I had written earlier today, and said, "I'm sending you my notice. Next Friday will be my last day of employment. I can't work here anymore." I know my boss is probably thrilled by this, as I felt like much of the past year had been organized around pushing me out, but they were definitely caught off guard and the immediacy of my resignation. They should have just gotten up and walked out. I'm pissed I didn't get the bonus, but I'm honestly so thrilled that I was able to quit in response to the most recent insult. I start a new job in a couple weeks, and even though the pay isn't that much better, the company is better, the job is better, and there's more room for upward mobility. Updates. I spoke to several employees, and I am the only employee to receive no bonus this year. Everyone else received full bonuses. Also, I was given paid leave from the company through the end of next week, my date resignation. 1.5 weeks paid without having to work. That's some consolation. Thanks for listening, and see you guys in the next video. Have a good rest of your week, and enjoy your weekend.